What if you could do transactions with pretty much anyone, and you could do it without having to refer to the dollar? You wouldn't have to worry about central banks. You wouldn't have to worry about governments blowing up the value of the currency. All that a Bitcoin is a belief that other people are going to use the Bitcoin. So, who created Bitcoin? Supposedly, it is this guy right here. Supposedly, his name is Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, the reason I say supposedly is because nobody actually knows who created Bitcoin. And supposedly, it is this guy who's supposed to be 40 and from Japan. That's kind of awesome because you don't want to have a centralized guy who controls all of Bitcoin, some mastermind criminal who actually can inflate Bitcoin at any point and then sell all of his Bitcoin for a bunch of money. You want it to be decentralized. That is the purpose. The basic idea of Bitcoin is that you are concerned that this right here, the full faith and credit of the United States or any government, it doesn't mean anything, right? What if you are worried about that? What if you are worried that the government can simply devalue dollars? Well, then you need to find another repository of value. So what Bitcoin is you believe that the currency is stable enough to be used and enough people are going to accept the currency that it has inherent value. Instead of you relying on the government's ability to tax and the government's ability to stimulate and the government's ability to print and to take out of circulation, instead of relying on all of those powers, you're relying on the idea that there is something that is trusted by enough people that they will use that in the absence of a government. So you're giving up a certain amount of faith in the pure unbridled power of government in favor of faith in other people believing in the same IOU notes that you believe in. This is why some people like Peter Schiff like, that's a pyramid scheme. Because just like any other temporary repository of value, people could fall out of love with Bitcoin. And that's true. People could fall out of love with Bitcoin, or they could find a new version of Bitcoin. You see new sort of currencies springing up every so often. So theoretically, you could have people decide, you know what? We don't want to use Bitcoin anymore, or businesses say we're not going to accept Bitcoin as payment anymore, and the value could theoretically go to zero. That is 100% true. It also happens to be the case that Bitcoin cannot be controlled from the outside because governments can make currencies worth zero, but governments don't have the power to make Bitcoin worth zero. That is because Bitcoin is not a centralized currency. It is a decentralized cryptocurrency. So that comes with some costs and it comes with some benefits. On the cost side, you cannot rely on the ability of Bitcoin to give you some sort of hard asset in exchange for your Bitcoin because that doesn't exist. That's not what Bitcoin is. On the good side of the ledger, you don't have to worry that the creators of Bitcoin are going to simply inflate the value of Bitcoin or deflate the value of Bitcoin by simply printing new Bitcoin. In essence, here is sort of the difference between fiat currency and Bitcoin. Fiat currency is a government, right? Call it the US government. And the US government decides the value of the currency, and then that value is promulgated to all of the other human beings, right? These are all the citizens. All the citizens are out here, yay, citizen, okay. And then we have an unhappy citizen. So the value of the US dollar is decided by the US government. When it comes to Bitcoin, it is precisely the opposite. Instead, you have a bunch of people out here, and these people have to decide what they think Bitcoin is worth. And because Bitcoin is not an actual government who's actually creating the value of Bitcoin, instead, you have all of these people investing their own assets into Bitcoin. So the definition of value is incredibly different. The definition of value is coming from the outside in as opposed to from the inside out.